Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's DevOps.com workshop, brought to you by TechStrong and xMatters, an Everbridge company. My name is Cody J. Brown, and I'm the host of TechStrong Learning. We have an exciting workshop ahead of us, but before we begin, I have just a few housekeeping notes. First, today's event is being recorded, so if you miss any or all of today's workshop, it will be made available for on-demand watching after the fact. I want to point your attention to the comments section on the right side of your screen. If you have any questions for our speakers throughout today, and I'm sure you will, that's going to be the place where you need to drop them. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the program, so we'll try to get to those live or at the end, time permitting. I'd also like to draw your attention to the polls. If you go to the right side of your screen and click Events, you'll find 3 polls that our speakers would love for you to answer throughout the duration of today's program. It's just going to help them kind of figure out where your interests are and tailor the presentation a little bit more towards what you need. And finally, the same with that comments tab. You can leave questions there, or you can just talk with us and contribute as much to the conversation as you'd like. Finally, at the end of today's presentation, we will be giving out some Amazon gift cards. So stick around to see if you're one of our 4 lucky winners. But on to our workshop. The topic today is Accelerate Innovation Through Automation Using Flow Designer. And I'm joined today by Matt Fraunhofer, Solutions Architect at Everbridge, and Stephen Walters, Solution Architect at Everbridge, who will also be our moderator for today's discussion. So at this time, it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to Stephen to get us started. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Cody. Thanks very much. Everybody, welcome to today's presentation. I say presentation, we're going to show you a few slides and we'll just start bringing those up now. But what we'll do is we'll get into the real meat of this as well when Matt will start to show you the product, start to show you some of the capabilities. But what's probably going to be even more important is interaction from you. So please do get involved. Use that comment section. Please chat with us, be open, have a discussion, ask questions. I'm going to challenge some people to try and trip Matt up here and see if we can throw a little curveball in there and let's see what we can do. But let's get into our opening slides first of all. This session is on accelerating the innovation. So Cody, sorry, have we got the slides? Can we just bring the slides up? Thank you. So this is about accelerating innovation through automation using Flow Designer. Now, the thing with Flow Designer is automation is probably a bit of a weak word, but we'll come on to that and you'll see more about that. It's more than automation. This is also about empowerment. And you'll see that as we go through the talk track. But before we do that, just a bit more of a brief introduction into who we are and what we know. So my name is Stephen Walters. I'm a solution architect with Everbridge, working in xMatters, and I have nearly 30 years experience now in various digital transformations, various frameworks, including CMMI, ITIL, TOGAF, Scrum, SAFe, and within DevOps. My compatriot here, Matt, also has really extensive experience, and he blows me away every time as well with his technical experience and what he brings to bear. So I'm just as excited as anybody else to see what he's going to show us here today. Really looking forward to this. So please do challenge him. He really can help to bring the product to life. Before we get into that on the products, I just want to talk a bit more, give a bit more background about what the product is and why our customers come to us and the kind of things that they look for and the kinds of problems that we're looking to resolve. To thrive, teams today must deliver more releases faster while maintaining service reliability. That's a balance that they have to maintain. Everbridge recently acquired xMatters, the leader in service reliability, to further enhance our critical event management capabilities. This capability helps DevOps, SREs, and operations teams automate workflows, ensure infrastructure and applications are always working, and rapidly deliver products at scale. Our code-free workflow builder, adaptive approach to incident management, and real-time performance analytics all support a single goal: the happiness of your customers. xMatters delivers uninterrupted customer experiences by automating incident management at scale across the application lifecycle. Our most successful customers apply proactive resolution with the customer experience in mind across every team in their business by integrating with the tools they use every day. We start by notifying the right on-call resource, but that's just the beginning. The xMatters digital service availability platform connects and orchestrates your tools to prevent incidents and to automate guided response when an incident does happen. Intelligent event management blocks up to 90% of the noise to let signals through, turning signals from multiple tools into enriched notifications with useful information like logs and build history, so that notifications that go out have situational context and are actionable. On-call management helps teams organize shifts, schedules, and automate escalations to prevent issues from going unacknowledged. Reports help you understand response times for your teams. Automated workflows across tools provide guided remediation at the push of a button, all while the updating stakeholders and apps in your tool chain, whether that be tools, Jira, Zendesk, Slack, you name it, if an incident occurs. Our incident response and management takes an adaptive approach to solve the challenges of responding to service interruptions across your teams, cultures, and systems. Automated resolution, dynamic collaboration, and data-driven process improvements build outstanding customer experiences. Teams can scale up or down based on changing conditions to efficiently manage and resolve incidents of all sizes, impacts, and severities. And lastly, we believe in continuous learning and automation. So we help teams access events and incident data and analytics to evaluate in postmortems and apply learnings to automate new workflows. All this functionality exists in the core CEM digital platform, available at every tier. Now, I mentioned about the customers and what we bring to them. And here we have a recent example of a customer that required us to replace their existing legacy platform. The main reason for driving replacement was because of our ability to automate steps, most specifically automating the steps to resolution. It was our ability, with the use of Flow Designer, to customize the steps to resolution by connecting other software tools, to carry out specific business processes that won the business. Our ability to orchestrate the exact business process and using their existing business logic in an automated way, all the way to resolution, is what makes us one of a kind, and it solves a major problem by providing clear business value. The legacy system did not take action to resolution. What we see here is a flow that was created where there was a situation of a disk full on server. There were two options, two paths which could be taken here. There was auto remediation, where Sensu calls xMatters, xMatters executes a rundeck script, and then opens a Jira ticket. If the remediation is successful, we close the Jira ticket. No human interaction is required. But if the remediation fails, we can update the Jira ticket and notify on-call resolvers immediately, and the right resolvers. In a second situation, we have a more guided remediation, where Sensu calls xMatters and xMatters notifies the right on-call resolvers and provides response options for possible remediation scripts. Again, if the remediation is successful, we can close that Jira ticket. If the remediation fails, we update the Jira ticket and notify those resolvers. The main differentiator wasn't our ability to communicate, but our ability to put business problem-solving logic into action with the touch of a button. Literally. The legacy system could carry out simple commands like get more people involved, update a ticket, close a ticket. We can automate and take action to resolution. It is a significant difference in the eyes of our customers. I mean, we asked the question, why? Why xMatters? And from this customer, they said it would attempt to automate the fix and even find more information to get to the root cause faster. So on my radar, is this something of interest? This is what we are looking for. So as for a potential proof of concept, identify some success criteria, do some everyday scenarios, and show how we can resolve an issue without a human touching it or get information so it reduces the amount of time to tell someone what is going on in their environment. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this was not just about communication. This was helping, guiding, and enabling their users, their people, their key people, to get to resolution. Another scenario that they were dealing with is flapping. Flapping occurs when a service or a host changes state too frequently, resulting in a storm of problem and recovery notifications. Flapping can be indicative of configuration problems, for example, thresholds set too low, troublesome services, or real network problems. What this led to is alert noise reduction. So in any particular region within the cloud or any data center experiences, any network or issue impacting with all or multiple services, there may be multiple alerts from multiple servers, networks, whatever there is, flooding into the system. In that situation, you would like to be able to add some logic so that only a single ticket, or as close to it as possible, is created. In this case, the client's existing system does not do root cause. So, to be clear, what we're aiming for here is a reduction in noise. A number of alerts can come in and can self-resolve within 10 minutes. The client's request was, while we also work on thresholding on the signal sending side, it would be good to have functionality to do some litmus tests prior to escalation. With Jira integration, we would like to see how this works if a service is flapping. Are multiple tickets created or a single ticket created, closed, reopened, etc.? In this scenario, we walked through this in Flow Designer and executed a script very quickly. And you will see with Matt how quickly this can be created. And we walked this through and how it operated and how it was used in automation with a Jira ticket. We showed value in that ability to classify non-actionable alerts as such or as low urgency and report on them. Also an ability to merge a series of signals with the same description from different hosts to a single ticket or alert, and also an ability to merge a series of signals from the same host, but different issue descriptions to a single ticket or alert. Now, there was a survey that we conducted this year. 150 CIOs, CDOs, CTOs, they all responded. And process automation was identified as key. Almost all respondents, over 95%, believe automation is critical to service reliability. That is, in terms of ensuring a service performs with the minimal amount of failures. And this survey validated this prediction. The survey respondents report the top 3 organizational benefits of automation, operations, development, and software releases to be an increase in efficiency, cost optimization, and an increase in release velocity. Executives, CIOs, chief digital officers, CTOs, reported that application delivery automation, 50%, instant response automation, 44%, and continuous deployment, 44%, to be most beneficial to their role. Cost and time are seen as the biggest barriers to automation, with cost being weighed higher for leadership roles, naturally. The top areas selected by respondents where automation would be beneficial to their role include application delivery automation, continuous deployment, and incident response automation. So that's enough talking from me. You've heard a lot of discussion from me about some of the background behind this, some of the reasons why people come to us. So I'm sure a lot of you want to actually see this thing in action. So what I'm going to do now is hand you over to my colleague, Matt, and he is going to wow you now with the capabilities with the tool. Please do get involved. Get onto the comments section. If anybody would like you to ask any questions at any point, I will and interrupt Matt and we will ask away. Please feel free to ask anything in there. Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate the intro. So as we talked about, if you're here today, chances are you're looking for a better way to communicate and integrate across multiple tools. You might be facing challenges with toolchain automation, process flows, and mapping all the necessary steps to echo your process and the process that you desire and want your IT department to follow. So in this overview, I'm going to go through the different parts of Flow Designer, the pieces that you can use to create your flows. If you're keen to realize the value of a fully integrated tool set, but you don't have the time, resources, budget to realize the value and write lines and lines of code, then I think today's session is going to pique your interest. In fact, we're really going to focus on that time element. We're all busy people, so by the end of my demo, you'll see how quickly we can set up integrations through the xMatters Flow Designer. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, Matt, this is all scripted. Of course you're going to be able to do this quickly. Well, we thought about that. So we're going to put the power into your hands, hence the poll questions. So you should see a poll in there that is asking about a monitoring tool. Many of our clients start off with Flow Designer by integrating some sort of monitoring tool. So which one do you want to see us integrate with? If you could vote now, we'll go ahead and use the winning tool in the flow that we're about to create. While we're voting, start to think about how your teams would generally respond to those monitoring tool alerts, as we'll be using those later in the demo too. So with this, let's see what the results are looking like. So Cody, if you could let me know what what's taking the lead on the monitoring question. And as Cody's getting that, it looks like Splunk is the majority winner today. So we're going to go ahead. So to make this a little bit more interesting, we're also going to use a timer, and we're going to keep tabs on just how quick this is. Now, keep in mind, I'm timing all of the ability for us to be able to have the to actually spend time in Flow Designer. So I will be pausing the timer in order to for explanations down the line. So let's go ahead and start off. So first, we're going to create a custom workflow. Now, we also have templates that you could absolutely use to get started, but today we're going to build this all from scratch. We're going to give it a name, so we're just going to say Matt's Demo Flow designer. We can also add a description as well as add documentation links, etc., so we know what this looks like. Now, within a workflow, you can have multiple different flows. So we're going to click on Flow Designer, and we're going to create Flow Canvas. Now, because we're utilizing Splunk, we're going to name this just Splunk Alerting and create. Now, once that creates, we're going to drag our Splunk trigger from our panel here on the left, or sorry, on the right. I do know my directions. So we could search for it, or we'll just scroll down here and we'll choose Splunk Alerts, and we're going to go ahead and put that onto the canvas. So once we do that, we're going to double click this. We're going to save our Flow Designer. And now what this does is this allows us to have the trigger URL that is utilized in our Splunk integration to send and configure that Splunk integration. So we're going to copy that over and we'll hit done. And we're going to go ahead and pause our timer. So if you're new to Flow Designer, you're probably feeling a little bit lost at this point. Not to worry. As I mentioned earlier, the workflow templates directory guides you through this part of the process. In fact, all of our integrations are fully documented and freely available on our website. For example, for monitoring tools, so Splunk in this case, you can see we provide you with step-by-step instructions of how to utilize this integration URL within Splunk's configuration process. Now, because we chose the monitoring tool live here, we don't have a monitoring tool environment set up for Splunk. But the steps in our documentation are all you'll need to get integrated with xMatters. But because seeing is believing, we're going to utilize Insomnia, which is a REST API testing tool, to mimic the payload that Splunk would send over. So you can see here I have all the different payloads that we have taken from example integrations that we've done in the past. And we're going to paste in our trigger here. Our trigger URL, perfect. Set it as a post. We have our sample payload, and we'll come back to this later. So whenever we have an alert in Splunk, it'll fire to xMatters. So what happens on the xMatters side? Go ahead and drag that out of the way. So when we go into Flow Designer, you can see this big gray area. This is our canvas. It's where we build the automation flows for our different processes that we want to happen. These flows are made up of a number of components, which are found here on the right in the palette. The palette has triggers, which can be things happening in xMatters or external tools like AppDynamics, Datadog, Splunk, etc. There are apps, which are the main integration configurations that we'll see shortly. And then there are also tools which allow us to manipulate data throughout the flows that we'll go into later. Now, you also see the custom section here. If you don't have an application in here that is directly within the platform, which we're updating and adding all the time, you can also create an entire library of custom steps to create new behaviors and new steps within the platform. So, as things stand right now, this flow isn't going to do much except receive an alert payload from our monitoring tool. So we need to add some more steps. Chances are there's different...
Matt, can I just interject there?
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting question, interesting point to make here. You mentioned about the customization of those. Those are not just necessarily customizations that you're creating from scratch. You can potentially customize from the existing steps especially where you may have an integration where there are custom fields, maybe within your IT monitoring tool, also within your alerting tool. So if you're not using just a standard template of data that's coming across, if you're using custom fields, then those custom fields can be accommodated in the payload packages that are coming across and included within that customization as well. So don't have to worry about custom fields. If you've got those in the other tools, those can be accommodated within the payloads and also within all of the data tracking that occurs later on.
Yep, absolutely. And it's really easy to take a step, say, for example, Big Panda. We can just click here and copy as a custom step and handle any customizations that you want utilizing this initial add comment step directly as the basis of that new step. So it makes a very big difference on how quickly we can move forward with integrations. All right, so let's restart our timer here, and we'll go ahead and move on. So under the tools palette, we have the switch step. And you can think about this as kind of an if this, then that type of logic gate. So we're going to drag it onto our canvas, and we're going to connect our trigger to our switch. And then we're going to double click because there was a configuration issue. Basically, what we need to do is we need to choose the property which is coming from Splunk and decide what property we need to look at for its value. So in this case, we're going to switch on priority. And so the below the switch, we can add path values. These are the values that we want the step to look at for in the priority field. We're going to add critical and high as two specific values. So we'll go ahead and say critical. And we're going to add high. We'll click done. And then notice how these entries have little dots on the right. You can see one right there and one right here, meaning that we can connect flow steps to them. Anything that doesn't match these two custom values that we created, then will route in the default path. So let's pause again and think about what happens next. So when it comes to critical incidents, time is of the essence. So maybe one of the first things that needs to happen when a monitoring tool detects something that is seriously wrong is to log the problem as an incident. So we have our service desk question in there. And as before, we need to select what ITSM tool we're going to use for our demo. Now, as before, this is just a few or a sampling of the tools that we integrate with. We have many more that are available on our integrations page and built into the tool, but we do have these systems ready to go. We also have an incident console built in, and you may have spotted the initiate incident step here on the palette under our xMatters option. So you can see here initiate incident. We're not going to be using that today, but we do have an xMatters Demo Days video on our YouTube channel, and you can search for Adaptive Incident Management to see more on that particular feature. So let's go ahead and get the poll results for our ITSM tool, our service desk tool. All right, so it looks like ServiceNow has the edge for this particular demo. So we're going to go ahead with ServiceNow as our integration for our ITSM tool. So let's go ahead and resume our timer. And we're going to go ahead and click on our apps section here. And we're going to go down to ServiceNow, and we're going to expand that. Now, because we want to create an incident, there's several steps here. We're going to click and drag this create incident step over into our workflow. So we're going to take this off of our critical path, and so that anytime we get an alert from Splunk that's sent over to us, if it is of critical severity or priority, we're going to then go along this path and create and utilize this and create an incident within ServiceNow. Now, you can see that we are prompted with that little warning because there's additional configuration that needs to happen. So we're going to double click ServiceNow and open up our configuration. Now, this step is prompting me for different fields that need to be populated. So over on the right, you'll see if we click on Splunk alerting, you can see different values that came over from Splunk, and we can just drag and drop these values into the appropriate fields. So we're going to go ahead and put in the key fields. We'll go ahead and put in, let's see. Let's go ahead and do let's do result host here in the short description, and we'll say has an issue. That'll be our short description. Our full description, we'll go ahead and say app has an issue that we need to resolve. Result link, and then we'll just put in this result link here. And that's just going to be the different pieces that of the alert, and we could get any of these directly within here. So the caller, this would be the person who reported the issue. So we can utilize, we could say, actually we do not need that, so we're going to go ahead and leave that blank here. And we're going to go ahead and put an assignment group. We're going to call this front end support. And then we're going to do our impact as 1-high, and our urgency will also do as 1-high. Now, you could also set these as various properties, and you can handle that in a number of different ways. And then finally, we click on our endpoint here, and we're going to need to tell xMatters what endpoint we need to go to in order to get our to communicate with our ServiceNow instance. So we're going to add our endpoint, and we'll call this ServiceNow. And we'll go ahead and say our ServiceNow URL, and copy and paste it here. And then we have our authentication type, admin, and then grab our password here. And now we can test our authentication. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and save this, close, and hit done. All right, so let's recap. So far, we have connected a monitoring tool to xMatters. We've created that trigger. We've then parsed out based off of its priority that comes over. And then we've added the ability to create a new incident ticket whenever an alert comes in that is of critical severity. That allows us to route critical and non-critical alerts differently than we might want to. Now, what else might we need to do as part of responding to some sort of monitoring alert? One last survey, our ChatOps tool. We've been seeing more and more teams adopt a ChatOps approach to incident response. With the past year and almost 2 years, driving many of us to adopt virtual meeting tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams, they both have become increasingly popular. So why not save the pain of getting people into those tools? If we could pick which chat tool we'd like to use in our next demo, we'll go ahead and utilize our integration to share that information, that channel that we create to collaborate on this incident response, into the initial notification that gets sent out to our on-call resolvers. So once again, you're not just limited to using these two tools. Perhaps you want a conference call instead of a chat channel. That's fine. And you can have Flow Designer open up an xMatters conference bridge for you. Maybe you need a Microsoft Teams meeting as well as a channel. That's fine too. We have those steps. So, Cody, if you could let me know what the chat tool is of choice, we will move forward and start with our the next part of our integration. And it looks like Microsoft Teams is the winner. So we're going to go ahead and utilize Microsoft Teams. And we're going to create a channel. Before we go any further, let me get our timer going again. So we'll hit start. All right. So we're going to create this channel within Microsoft Teams to get our to create a dedicated space for our resolvers. We're going to go ahead and now, after we've created that incident, we're going to create a channel. And you can see we had some warnings. So now we're going to do this for Microsoft Teams. And let me just double check. xMatters Octo. That's our Teams information. So what team we want to go into, xMatters Octo. Our channel name. So we're going to actually utilize our incident number here as our channel name. And then we're going to put in a short description. Used for troubleshooting incident number. And we'll pop in the incident number right there. We are also going to continue if this channel exists, so that way if the channel is already created, we'll just keep going and moving on. Now we have one last thing. We have to create that endpoint for Microsoft Teams. So we'll click on our endpoint and we'll add our Microsoft Teams endpoint. And we'll go ahead and click on connect. And because I'm logged into my browser with my account, we can click on that and it will automatically connect our through OAuth to the Graph API on Microsoft's side. We can close that. We'll close our endpoint and we'll hit done. Now, let's go ahead and hit save and make sure we save all of our work. That way we don't lose it all up. And now we're at a little over 10 minutes and we've already got a monitoring tool, service desk, and a chat application all hooked up. Now there's one final piece to close this out that we need to do to create send an alert to our on-call resources. So in the tools area, we'll go in to our xMatters section, and we're going to utilize our create alert step. We'll drag that onto the canvas, and we'll go ahead and click and connect all these together. Now, when we double click, you're able to see our different setup options here. We can define each of these message templates. So we can have a different message for our email or our push notification. You can have a message for our text message, and then you can also define voice notifications. So a phone call can be made. We're going to go ahead and start off with the email and app template. If we click on here, you can actually see all of our different options. And we'll just say new alert from Splunk in our subject line. And in order to make this look a little bit nicer, we're going to create a logo and organize the layout with a table. So we'll go ahead and add an image, and we'll choose it from our image library. We'll go ahead and put in xMatters, and then go ahead and go down one step, and let's go ahead and center this here. And we're going to insert a 4x2 table to kind of organize everything. So we're going to include the incident number, and then we can click and drag these different options. So we'll create incident, we'll drag over our incident number from ServiceNow, incident description, and we can include here our maybe the app type from Splunk, and then we could do details of the initial alert. And we'll go ahead and put in Splunk host and maybe the server. And we'll call that good. And then we can also do a link to the chat channel. So troubleshooting channel. And now we can go down to our create channel, and we can click and drag our channel URL directly into our workflow designer. So we'll go ahead and hit save to this and close this down. Now from here we could also do a text message, and we could do also our voice. For now, we're going to save that step, and we might do that later. Our recipients, we're going to go ahead and utilize a group that we have called Major Incident Management. And then we'll go ahead and add our recipients. So any person that is part of our Major Incident Management group is going to be able to work from or receive this alert. So next, let's set up our response options. And these are actions that off the back of the alert that might need to be captured. So this could be that I'm responding or an acknowledge. So we'll go ahead and add a response option, and we'll go ahead and say response option acknowledge. Acknowledge if I could type. And then we're going to assign to user and mark this also as a positive contribution. Now, whenever that, so basically what we've done here is whenever I hit acknowledge, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that. and then mark that person as assigned to this particular alert. Now, we'll go ahead and hit done. All right. Yep. Good. So now we have our acknowledge responses here within our step. And we also are going to want to post a message to this particular channel whenever somebody has acknowledged. So we're going to go into Microsoft Teams, and we're going to use our post message step here. We'll click and drag and connect our post message here. We're going to utilize our xMatters Octo team again, and our create channel. We're going to utilize our channel name that we previously created, and now we're going to say the response, and we're going to say the responded to by first and last name, is responding to this alert. All right. So now we have that, and we're going to go ahead and connect our endpoint, which had already found the appropriate endpoint that we have, and we'll go ahead and hit done. So with that, let's go ahead and auto layout this and make it look a little bit prettier and stop our timer. So we've just taken 17 minutes and 50 seconds to do some really powerful automation. And there's a ton more that we can do. We've hooked up a monitoring tool, a ticketing solution, and a chat tool via xMatters. So far, we've primarily focused on a critical flow path, but what about the high priority path that we set up with our switch step earlier on? Perhaps we want a high priority alert from the monitoring tool to be reviewed first by an on-call user, kind of as a triage system if you like. You can probably already guess some of the steps that we need to put on our canvas to do that. So let's go ahead and resume the timer. And we're going to drag and drop our create alert step directly within our canvas here. We'll go ahead and click and connect our high. And we're going to go ahead and do our message template, review alerts. Alert needs to be reviewed. And we'll go ahead and add in a table to just help organize things a little bit. And we'll say priority. And we'll go ahead and put in our app that is having the issue into there. So we'll save that. We'll close it. Our recipients, I'm going to just put in the major incident management group again. And then we'll go ahead and click done. Now, how will they be able to acknowledge and take action once they've triaged all this information? Well, we'll go ahead and add the responses trigger, and we can add our different response options to this particular option. So we'll go ahead and do acknowledge. And we'll go ahead and do our similar steps here. We'll add another response option for create incident. And we'll record that response and make it a positive contribution. And then our third might be escalate. This would be so much better if I could spell. And now we'll choose our escalate. And our positive contribution, we're actually going to make that a negative contribution. So those contributions are also they're important to our different priorities and different reporting that we have within our platform. You might also notice this URL redirect that we can utilize to open up the ticketing platform or even directly to a particular channel that is created once a user responds to a particular incident. So you can automatically pop them into, say, a meeting, an ongoing meeting that has been created to handle this particular information or this particular incident. Now we've got our 3 responses, and we're going to utilize our create incident step again. And we're going to just copy this step and bring it over here to the create incident. We're going to connect these. And we have all of this information. All right. And our endpoint, we made sure it's set there. Perfect. And now we will go ahead and organize this on the flow designer a little bit nicer. And we're going to hit stop. So, of course, 22 minutes, 15 seconds for a full workflow integrated to 3 different applications and handling 2 different severity levels of incidents. So, proof is in the pudding. Let's test this and see if it works. I'm going to go ahead and save this workflow here. And I mentioned earlier that we don't have every single monitoring platform available to us for testing. So we're going to go ahead and utilize this REST API tool called Insomnia for testing. And I'm also going to bring up my mobile device, and that should show us our incidents that get sent over to me. And this is a payload for our particular team that comes over from Splunk. And it's a critical priority. So I should receive an alert from ServiceNow and a link directly to our chat tool within Teams. Hopefully it works the first time, but let's try it. So we'll go ahead and, hit send. We got our request ID back, so fingers crossed, everything should be good. Now, as a reminder, we're going through our critical path. So we should see the alert come in. It should create a ServiceNow incident. It should create a Teams channel. And then it should create an alert that gets sent over to me within the next few seconds or so.
Matt, just as that, in fact, that alert has just come through. Just one quick question.
Yep.
On the polls, you've been asking people to select particular tools. What about a scenario where you may have an organization that's using more than one tool? So, for example, part of the organization is using Teams and another part of the organization is using Splunk.
Good question. So if you've got different tools, especially in larger organizations, that makes this having the flexibility of Flow Designer even better, because at that point, depending on how you set up your integration, you could create different switch statements for different properties. So here we switched on the priority that came through from Splunk on this particular alert. But say we needed to then divvy it out by the actual owner of this issue. In this case, it could be the software development team here as the recipients. We could split up by that and say the software development team uses Slack, but the IT team might use Teams. Well, when we can utilize the same logic, you can customize to every team's specific scenario and specific tool set if that's what you're looking for. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, thanks, Matt.
All right. So here you can see our alert came in. We've got our Teams link here and our incident information directly from ServiceNow. And let's go ahead and pull in our, let's just hop in here to our ServiceNow instance. And we'll look at our open incidents just to show you. Yep, there's our stack trace is too small, has an issue to front end support. So we've got our different reports here, and it automatically wants to fill that. So we'll go ahead and do it. And then if we take a look at our teams, you can see we've got our Teams channel. And yep, there it is. So within a matter of 22 minutes and 15 seconds of actual configuration, we've got a functioning workflow touching 3 different tools within our environment outside of xMatters. So think about how quickly you could extend this workflow that we just created with more triggers like escalations, comments, device audits, etc. It's a highly scalable platform that allows you to quickly and easily put in the applications that you're utilizing within your environment, and pull in the different pieces of information that you need to have. So with that, I'll pass it over to Stephen to go ahead and close us out.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you, Matt. So just as some sort of a closure on what you've seen today and a reprise of what you've seen, that was just a small sample, very quick and efficient and effective workflow that Matt created for you there. Many of the popular kind of workflow examples that we deal with are things such as covering major incident management, to automate remediation, prevent a full disk error, enriching a support ticket, rolling back a deployment, assigning a service ticket, restarting an unresponsive service. There are so many different ways in which you can use the workflow automation within Flow Designer. With over 200 pre-built automation steps, these are there for you to quickly drag and drop and use almost instantly within a matter of minutes. Those can be set up. And with over 10,000 unique multi-step workflows across customers, it just shows the variation in capabilities and the kinds of ways in which these systems are used. And it means that these systems can be designed, the workflows can be created to meet your requirements. There is no dictation here from the tool as to how you should operate. It's a matter of how you operate within your business is how the tool is going to operate. And with an average of 8 customers, some have hundreds of these workflows, and extending those workflows to gap that bridge between the technical and business operations teams. Some of the things that we could have gone on to show you there, for example, are around stakeholder notifications. How are you informing your executive, your business, your customers on the progress and on the state of things, informing them that you know there's an issue before they come across the actual issue, before they even know that there is an actual issue within there. These are all important factors to consider. The digital operation platform's 200 plus signal intelligence feeds, they enhance flow designer by providing greater context to the incidents. So you can enrich the messages that you saw Matt creating with information from other platforms. So where that signal came in from a particular application, then you can interrogate your CMDB tools, your build tools, other areas to identify more information about what was the status of the last build. Are there any other known issues that exist within your current ticketing tool around these systems, and enrich those notifications before they go out to users to help them to make a more conscious decision about what the next steps are that are required. It allows you to analyze problems and processes with 360-degree post-mortems and to continuously improve your processes and services. You saw how quickly we were able to create a flow. It's just as easy to then maximize that flow, to improve it further. The digital operation platform powers educated decision-making and continuous improvement with comprehensive analytics and postmortems, providing teams with real-time instant tracking, team performance visibility, and instant response efficacy. Our solution uniquely adapts to instant response models and grows with your team and your tool stack over time, eliminating the need for repetitive fixes and expensive add-ons. You can act quickly on service disruptions before they impact customer experience. The digital operations platform includes powerful tools to ensure service disruptions don't become business problems. When an incident occurs, the platform makes it quick and easy to automatically activate instant collaboration hubs. Guided remediation steps keep resolution progress moving through for faster conclusions. Using our low-code, no-code visual workflow designer, teams have the flexibility to build automated runbooks and communication plans with their existing tools and to swap in new tools with minimum effort. You can choose from a library of popular pre-built integrations or create your own completely customized integration. The result is more automation, fewer mistakes, dramatically shorter resolution times, and ultimately happier customers. The analytics for governance and operational efficiency is there. It's available through those 360-degree postmortems, which make repeated fixes a thing of the past, and through real-time instant tracking and visibility of team performance. And the use of those pre-built and codeless workflows plus codeless integrations means that you can build automated runbooks and communication plans quickly and efficiently, swapping in those new tools, intelligent routing and automation. The usage of Flow Designer has proven positive effects on multiple clients, and they scale from small teams to large-scale enterprise organizations, such as some of those shown here, who've seen drastic improvements, reductions in downtime, in business impacting issues, reductions in maintenance script overheads, and manual operations. Greater efficacy in a return to service operations impacting global services, and faster implementation of fixes and releases. Now, if you want to learn more, then please head over to xmatters.com And from there, believe it or not, you can get this system for free. Yes, there's a few little limitations in there, but just about everything you want, that rich functionality, and what's more, that capability to use workflow, to use the flow designer with the tools and build integrations and for you to trial it out, it's there available for you. So go to xmatters.com/free, download a copy, trial it out, try it in real time with your real systems. Or if you want a more customized feel, if you have a greater understanding of what your business issues are, or you want to understand more about how xMatters can help you with your particular use case, then please schedule a demo and reach out to an expert. Go to xmatters.com/demo and ask, and we can help you to identify how we can customize a solution for you that will fit your needs, that will fit your use case and your scenario. What's more, you can follow us on social media. We're on all of the usual channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Go on there and you can get regular updates on the latest white papers, the latest solutions we're providing, and the latest updates. We're always bringing out new capabilities and new functionalities to enrich the experience for our customers, for our users, to make their businesses far more efficiently. With that, I would like to take the time to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I would especially like to thank Matt for running us through something where we normally have to pray to the demo gods that this thing works. But I can honestly say that with this system, I don't think I've ever known that. This is why we've had the boldness and the gumption, as it were, to show you the system live. We believe so much in its capability to demonstrate it to you here live today. So I hope that you've enjoyed it, but I really want to thank Matt for a fantastic demo session, a live demo session where he grew a workflow for you and showed you that running at the end of that system. So thank you very much, Matt, for your time. And also thank you to Cody for your time today in providing us with this platform and with being able to introduce people to the capabilities that they have for them today. And with that, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. And I wish you a good rest of your day, good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Well, the honor and privilege is all mine. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Matt and Steven. The demo was incredible, and I think it proved exactly what you intended for it to do. Any questions that we did not get to today will be sent over to the folks at xMatters and Everbridge. And just a quick reminder that the session was recorded. So if you'd like to rewatch it or share it around, you'll receive an email with a link to access that recording after the webinar concludes. And you'll also find it living on the DevOps website. You can just visit devops.com/webinars and find this workshop. Before we leave, I need to announce the 4 winners of our $25 Amazon gift card drawing. Our first winner is Paul W. Our second winner is Akshay P. Our third winner is Diego G. And our fourth and final winner is Martin C. So congratulations to the 4 of you. Please keep an eye on your inbox to claim that gift card. And if you don't find the email, just check your spam folder. Lastly, I would like to thank xMatters and Everbridge for sponsoring today's presentation. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for being here with us for the entirety of the workshop. This is Cody J. Brown signing off. Have a great day, everyone.